like with me, so we'll make it work anyway. Is that okay, everybody? All right, let's see who else do we have. Hi, Arena. Merry Christmas, everybody. I see you, Darlene. Well, I'm excited to get back to our study on this amazing book by T.D. Jakes on Soar. And those of you who've been reading it along with me know that this is such powerful information. Like literally, so many lives are being changed as a result of what's going on with this book and reading it. And it just kind of tweaked some things that I had been thinking, kind of gave me another way to look at some other things that I probably need to be thinking in this process. But it has been amazing. So we are on part 3 of Soar. And I got my notes right here. Hopefully you have your book and your notebook. And part 3 is about clearing the clouds. Now, for those of you who followed along from the beginning, you know that a lot of this book has been about, it's about entrepreneurship. It's about building your vision from the ground up. And it's a very practical read in terms of what we need to do on a step-by-step kind of a basis to get our businesses off the ground. So it doesn't just talk about it from a spiritual standpoint, but it also talks about it from a very, very practical standpoint. So we went through the first 2 parts, the first part where he talked about expanding your vision, putting your vision into motion, understanding the winds and trends of what you're doing, the timing and the conditions around your actual building. He talked about, when the wind is blowing your way, that is the time to catch the wind, to ride the wind, to get that much further with what it is that you're doing. Part 2 is about building your wings. And he talked about the twins of innovation and inspiration that we all need as entrepreneurs to start our business. He talked about having our flight plan, our business plan, our blueprint for success, so to speak, and then about the invisible wings of e-commerce and how we, especially those of us who may not be millennials and didn't grow up with a computer or a PDA or a smartphone in our hands, we kind of have to do things a little differently than we're accustomed to, so that, we have to learn. We have to stretch ourselves and become better, become more knowledgeable in areas that we have, previously possibly been able to ignore. So the third part is called clearing the clouds. Clearing the clouds. Who are these that fly like a cloud and like doves to their windows? That's Isaiah 60.8, verse 8, where he starts this chapter 7. Chapter 7, the flight crew. And he talks here about assembling your dream team. Now, I remember back in the day, there was a basketball team that they called the Dream Team. And I think it was Michael Jordan and some others that were a part of that. And if I'm remembering correctly, the Dream Team was called that because they went out and that's what they did. They won games. They won games that they weren't supposed to win. They were able to make things happen that other teams didn't think could happen. And that's what we're talking about, assembling a dream team. And this in our industry of network marketing could be that core group of people that are out there with you consistently on a regular basis, making a change for other people, doing the work, making things happen. These are the people that you're communicating with on a regular basis, and not just to give them instruction, but to kind of get their picture, their idea of what it is that you're doing, right? So even though you are the leader and you have this business, this organization, this team, you always want to make sure that you stay open to the ideas of the people around you, because you should be surrounding yourself with people who are better than you. Surround yourself with people who have more knowledge, more experience, more wisdom in a certain area than you do. And that's how you create these dream organizations, these huge organizations. The acronym DREAM could be, directing through recreation, education, adventure, and mentoring. Directing through recreation, education, adventure, and mentoring. And these are all things that we need to do with the people who are closest to us, right? We're going to give them direction in terms of how to, and even the why to's for our business. We're going to have fun with them in terms of the recreation. We're going to go out and do things with them. Education, we're going to help them to get better, right? We don't, my mother always told me to leave a situation better than you found it. So that's my goal. Whenever I go into any relationship, I want to make sure when I leave, they're like, yeah, well, whatever the end was or however it ended, I'm better because of this. Adventure, right? Let's go on some adventures. I have a friend They used to call us Bob and Ted because it was no matter what we did, there was an adventure. But what did it do for us? It caused us to think outside the box, not to just go with the status quo, but to go beyond what is normal, beyond what people even consider necessary, to come up with solutions that to most people, either they didn't make sense or they didn't have the gut to go for, right? The guts to go for. And then of course, mentoring. And we'll talk about mentoring a little bit further into this study because mentoring is very different from coaching. And we're going to talk about how that is. So moving into the book, we're at page 125. And he goes on to talk about how coming together is a beginning, but staying together is a progress, and then actually working together, that's where you find success. And that's kind of the same, is so in alignment with what we do in terms of building our organizations. Because coming together, that's just the beginning. We don't even know. We just know what the possibilities are. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. Keeping together is a progress, right? We have to grow into people who are reconciliatory. Because people are going to offend us. They're going to say things. They're going to do things. And we have to have that attitude, I like to call it, of benefit of the doubt. Got to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially if you've chosen them to be a part of your team. There's some reasons why they're there. So regardless of what happens, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt until you get all of the understanding. As a leader, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, we cannot be the people who fly off the handle and just make, rash decisions based on emotional circumstances. So benefit of the doubt will save you a whole lot of apologizing. And if you're like me, I'll apologize if I have to, but I'm going to do everything I can so that I don't have to apologize at any point, right? So keeping together is a progress, and working together is where you're actually going to find success. So he talks about how early in his career as an entrepreneur, that there was a contractor who thought that, when they met him, it was a payday. Something had happened, he was going to sue him and get paid, but he didn't pay. TDJs did not pay. He fought to the end. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Now, when he hired the contractor, he had no idea what the outcome was going to be. He had no idea that it was going to go that way. He'd done his due diligence. He had, checked the references and done everything he could, but still, this is what happened. But what happened as a result, because, we say all things work together for good because we love God and we're called according to his purposes. So what happened in that process was it was the attorney that was representing this contractor that he actually ended up hiring, doing his due diligence because he loved the way he represented himself. He loved the character and integrity that the man stood with. And that man was responsible for many deals for TD Jakes Enterprises for many, many years. And this is where we as leaders and entrepreneurs and business owners have to begin to look for the good in every situation, because we have to know by faith. We have to know with our confidence that there is good in every situation. Okay, sometimes our adversaries will become some of our greatest allies. That lawyer was an adversary, but became one of his allies. And keep in mind that you don't have to like someone or want to be friends with them in order to hire them. The word is hire them. Okay, if they're good at their job and they share your dedication, then okay, hire them. However, remember, in our industry of network marketing, we're not hiring anybody. We have a total volunteer army of people. So the people that we work with, we have to make sure that we at least like them. Well, let me say it like this. The people that I work most closely with are definitely people that I have something in common with, right? Because we have an understanding from the very beginning. And it's a much easier process to give someone the benefit of the doubt when you kind of understand where they're coming from. So even like when you look at the teams that you're a part of, most of it is because you like the people. There's something in common. Maybe it's a desire to help people. Maybe it's a desire to change the world. Maybe it's the desire to build a better widget. Whatever it is, you've got something in common with them. So for us, even in business, you want to be in business with people with your friends, because most of the people that you attract are going to be people that know you, that like you, and that they trust you in the very beginning. That's just the nature of our business. So even though, maybe if you're hiring someone to power wash your house, you won't have to invite them over for Sunday dinner. But if you're talking about building a dream team of leaders in network marketing that are close to you, at some point, you're going to want to invite them to Sunday dinner. Might not even be at your house, but you're going to want to invest in those relationships. He even goes on to talk about how difficult it can be when you hire a friend and how much more difficult it makes it for you to push them and press them. And it's his book, right? But I really think it has to do with the maturity of the people that are involved. Because I've seen some friend relationships, and especially in some cultures, where family relationships is all that there's there. It's just that everyone understands from the very beginning who's who and whose role is what. And maybe they have similar work ethics, but there's always a place where the buck starts. I think about mafia families, right? There's always a Don. There's always the Godfather. There's always someone who has the final say that everybody respects. And that's why it can actually work in business as well, especially when you're not doing anything illegal. But so I don't necessarily agree with with the fact that friendships always get in the way. I think it has to do with how mature people are. What do you think? Like, I'm looking at your comments. Tell me, have you ever seen business relationships or friendships work well together? Have you ever seen people come together and even though they're friends or family members, when there are disputes and issues, they actually are able to work through them in any case? I know I have a lot of friends that I work very closely with. And, at one point, maybe I trained them or they trained me, and it has nothing to do with how old you are. It has to do with the wisdom and experience that you understand. And it's funny, I was talking about this with somebody, how, and I'm getting ahead of myself again, how, a lot of my mentors, some of them are younger than I am. Why? Because it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with experience and exposure. And if you understand what I understand and what D.D. Jakes is talking about in terms of the millennials and social media, you'll find some young people to mentor you as well, okay? We'll talk about that as we go forward. So then he goes into talking about casting your net, realizing that no man is an island. And we touched on this in the last section, that nobody gets to the top by themselves. We only excel with the help of our friends. I think of even biblical examples like Noah and Aaron. Noah was holding his arms up so that a whole nation could win a battle, got tired. Thank God he had a friend, quote unquote friend, who came and helped hold his arms up. Who are your friends, right? You need to have friends around you who have your back, not just your back, but your front, your side, your top, your bottom, people that you can call on that will be there. I have folks I can call, pick up the phone and say, I just need to talk. And I know they're going to give me the truth of the matter. They're not going to sugarcoat it. They're not going to make me feel good. They're going to wake me up, right? Help me to remember what I said my goals are. You have to have those workout partners in your life for every area of your life, okay? You can't do mighty deeds by yourself in isolation, reading from the book now. If you have a vision to build a venture that will fly and sustain its journey through the clouds, you will not be able to do it alone. You're going to need a flight crew in order to soar. So begin to ask yourself that question. Who is on your flight crew? Who's on your flight crew? While you might attempt to be Superman or Superwoman, and it's so funny. I saw something yesterday. I love this because we get to just talk, right? This is not a presentation, it's not a lecture. We're just talking. And I saw something yesterday, and it talked about how when we try to be Superman or Superwoman, Wonder Woman, and act like everything rises and falls on us, or that we have to be the sacrificial lamb in a situation, is kind of like putting God second to everybody else too. Now, I'm not going to say that I believe in this entire philosophy. I'm giving you this just to kind of think about, because I'm kind of still in the process of thinking about it, but because I do personal development reading on a daily basis, this is something that I read yesterday. She said that we're out there saying that, you know what, you're putting all these people in front of you. First of all, that's disingenuous, right? Because it lacks authenticity. We're not really putting everybody in front of us, because there's some things we have to do just to keep moving during the day. However, what she did say was, it's like putting God second or behind other people, because we are, God lives in us, and we are responsible first to what he called us to do. So sometimes when we take it onto ourselves to do godly things in other people's lives, we are out of order. We're out of alignment. And then it was actually Iyanla, and I do not by any stretch agree with everything Iyanla says. I've done, book signings with her. We've had conversations, no issues there. It's just that, some of our belief systems are different, but that's what respect is about, right? So it was just interesting to me. And she said that when we sacrifice from other people, when we sacrifice for other people, we actually cause them to be a thief because they're taking from us what God entitled or intended for us to do something different. So I know I've had to say to people, even my kids, I can't be God in your life. Like this one, I'm going to pray with you about. And then my prayer is, God, if you want me to do something, let me know so that I'm staying in alignment with my purpose and my divine destiny. So just something to think about out there when we're out there making these rash sacrifices for people who seemingly don't respect them. They're not thankful or grateful. And then we get mad afterwards. It's really kind of our fault more than it is theirs. But bottom line, going back to the book, we need to have a flight crew. We need some people to help us to soar. Never forget that defying gravity and reaching your destination is a journey that you're not going to be able to make alone. He says real superpowers require a variety of complementary talents and abilities working together to achieve results beyond what you could achieve by sheer talent or even to achieve all by yourself. So we want to make sure that we've got this team in place. Now, I love this part, okay, on page 128, where he defines the net in networking. He says that nets are woven strands of roped fibers designed to contain certain items while letting others pass through. Isn't that something? We're in network marketing, and the whole idea is that we cast our net and some will stay and some will slip through. Like for me, this said, I don't have to be mad anymore at anybody leaving my network marketing organization. Why? Because that's what it's designed to do. Some will stay and they will continue to fortify us, and others will go. And rather than the ones staying and rotting in the net and poisoning everybody else, that's actually what we want to see happen, right? That was a blessing to me to know that because it's network marketing, some people are going to slip through the net and they need to, right? That's a blessing. So he talks, though, he wasn't talking about network marketing. He was just talking about a net, period, having a network. But the business networks are most effective when we extend our interest and engage with other entrepreneurs and consumers that are even going in different directions from our own. We can learn something from anybody. And doing that will increase the size and depth of the pool that we can draw supporters, investors, employees, and even consumers, other people that might be interested or being involved in what we're doing. He says that not only do you need a flight crew, you also need a ground crew, right? He says every new entrepreneur, period, needs to have supporters, advisors, and mentors. And just real briefly, let's talk about what those are. A supporter, those are your greatest fans. There's a lady, Angela Taylor, I don't know if she's watching or not, but she was on my Facebook page, and she just reminded me of, how I had been a blessing to her life. And I know definitively that Angela Taylor is one of my greatest supporters. Like, I love her. She loves me. No matter what happens, that's just the way it's going to be. But, she celebrates my triumphs, and she's there to be there and support me if I fall, right? Not just cheerleaders. Supporters understand what it costs for you to be who you are. To be who you are to the nations, to your team, to your organization. They know what it takes to be fully invested, and they care about you enough to help support you so that you can be successful. That's a supporter. Advisors, on the other hand, these are the people who give you professional and intellectual support. Now, they're normally we're talking about counsel. We're talking about wisdom. We're talking about best business practices. So these are kind of like your financial advisors. These are your tax consultants. Right? And then their advice is normally very specific and is very, very practical. So, use this supplier, get your stuff from this wholesaler. So supporters, advisors, and now mentors. Now, mentors are both. They're kind of like supporters and advisors because they're going to give you this comprehensive insight into how to juggle your whole life's demands, right? They want you to succeed professionally, but not at the expense of your personal life and your family. Now, mentors are tough to find and tough to sustain. And let me explain to you why. There's a difference between a mentor and a coach. A mentor, like we just said, is involved and concerned about your entire life. A coach, on the other hand, is normally going to be concerned about some specific area of your life. And we need both. Right? When you think coach, think football. Your football coach is probably not going to tell you how to invest your money, right? But your mentor may connect you to a person who can help you invest your money and a football coach if that's what you want to go out there and do. So you need to have both. And we talk about that. I'll talk about that further at another time. So when people say to me often, when they say to you as leaders, will you mentor me? It's because they really don't understand what they're asking you to do. See, a mentor is going to give you a part of their life. They're going to give you a part of who they are. They're very fiber. They're very being. So a mentor is going to pour into you and get involved in every area. So, the better question for in a lot of situations is, will you coach me? Because then it's only one specific area, but for someone to pour into you the way that a real mentor does, that is a huge sacrifice. And don't ever take that lightly. And I know that, I've had people that I considered me their mentor, but then when I would mentor them, they would ask me too many questions. Like, a mentor is not someone whose advice you seek. A mentor is someone whose advice you listen to and apply to your lives, because there's no other benefit for them to be involved in that mentoring relationship other than to see you do well. And that's what's important. So you got to have both. So in your ground crew, you want to have supporters, you want to have advisors, you want to have mentors, and you want to have coaches. All right, let's see. Then he goes in to talk about the flight crew. And the flight crew, often, the analogy that he uses is that the flight crew is the crew that will help you to fund your venture and to actually get it off the ground. And these are the people that you're going to ask, investors, right? People you're going to ask to believe in your dream, your vision. And a lot of times we go out here, we put up together these fancy business plans, and I get this often, and people will come and say, hey, can you invest in this business venture with me? And I'm like, okay, well, what do you have invested? And a lot of times they have zero invested. Now, why would any prudent investor invest in something that you have nothing invested in? When you watch Shark Tank, and you should be watching Shark Tank as business leaders, that's one of the first things that they ask. What's the company valued at, and how much of your own money is in it? What do you have invested? Is it just grit and hustle, or do you actually have finances? It's a lot better for you to say grit, hustle, and I put my entire retirement in here. My family is at risk, because that shows that you are determined, that you believe, because belief is contagious. If you don't believe in your own idea or company or product or service, then why would I? I need to know that you believe. I want to know what happened for you. That's why we say, tell your story. Tell your story. What is your story? And that's what people engage in, and that's what people become a part of. Okay. And then we talked about how he talks about when you're getting those investments, make sure everything is writing for obvious litigious reasons, and to be very, very careful about working with your family. Now, let's talk about it from the standpoint of network marketing as an industry. We know, and it's so many people, I feel bad for them, because they get started in a company and then they quit because their family won't support them. And I have to remind them that very often your family is there for practice. Your family and friends, for two reasons. Normally, they are the worst. Because normally, now we all have those family and friends who will just do what we ask them to do, whether they believe or not. And that's dangerous too, because now you have someone in your organization who, had they been properly exposed, properly presented to, they might actually grab a hold and do the thing, but because they never saw it in the right fashion, they were just doing it to support you, they never really get started or get going. But your friends and family, they don't understand it, they don't see it, they don't understand what you understand. A lot of times they are negative because they don't want to see you get hurt. They love you so much, they don't want to see you lose everything, go down the tube, and your reputation be shot. And then sometimes they don't want to lose you in their life space, because they know if you go out there and you make $250,000 doing X, Y, or Z, and they may not have a relationship with you. But that's why your friends and family often are not the best people to present to initially. Sometimes you have to let it take its course. Let them see your success. So he gives 3 reasons as well. First, he says it's difficult to work with your family and difficult for them to invest in your venture, because there's no way for those closest to you to remain objective about the investment. They know too much about you. They know your background. They know all your mistakes. They all know your, just whatever this stuff is that you don't tell everybody, your family pretty much knows it. So they're going to be more difficult when it comes time to make an investment in what you're doing. And again, that goes to the second one, which is past perceptions. You have to set clear boundaries and establish realistic expectations and clear the past, whatever the issues are from the past, before you invite your families into your business. Because imagine, if you already have problems with your mother-in-law and then you take her money, you think that she's in your business now? What's going to happen later, right? And then third, always have a contract. Always have clarity in terms of how you're getting into it, what's going to happen during it, and how to get out of it. Why? Because you'll always have that paper that you can refer to that has nothing to do with anybody's memory and has nothing to do with anybody's emotions, okay? And then he goes on, I'm going to skip a few pages, and he talks about how when you're establishing relationships with your customers and your clients, we have to be real clear about listening and engaging with them. Meaning that, and this is one of our biggest issues, we meet people in this industry, we want to tell them about our service because we're excited. We want to tell them about our product because we're just blown away. Look what happened for people, blah, 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 blah. And before you know it, 7-10 minutes has gone by and you don't even know that prospect's name. Probably not going to get very far with them. Why? Because you haven't listened. You want to listen more. And then you can give them what they need to answer whatever their problem is. So Mike Murdoch says that a key to your assignment is the problem that you're here to solve. So if I know that you have this type of problem and my product or service is going to solve it, I have to match those things. And now I've got that customer engaged. I've got that prospect engaged in what I'm talking about. Anything else, I'm just throwing up on them. I'm just giving them a whole bunch of information that they may or may not even care about. Everybody simply wants to be treated like a person of value. Everybody just wants to be respected. Learn the art of asking questions. Get good at asking questions. So when you're out there talking to people and you haven't met them before, talk to them about, we use the acronym FORM. Talk to them about their family. Talk about their occupation. Talk about what they do for fun or their recreation. And then talk about their motivation. Just ask them questions and let them answer. I have met people and I've asked them questions, just question after question, and they know nothing about me. And today we're like really cool with clients, friends, because I asked enough questions. They're like, there's something about her. I really like her. It's because I was more interested in them and their needs than selling them my product. Okay. So get good at that. Chapter 8, Entrepreneurial Leadership 101. Stephen Covey talks about starting. Well, the quote from Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind. The chapter is called What Goes Up Must Come Down. And it's the same thing, whether it is an airplane, whether it's a business. We always want to begin, whether we're going on a trip, with the end in mind, right? If I'm traveling to Florida from Maryland, I need to, before I can get there, I need to know where I'm going. Then I can determine, am I going to take a train, a bus, a plane? What's the strategy for actually getting there? So many times we want to go from step to step to step to step, but we don't know where we're supposed to end up. And guess what? All roads lead to nowhere in that instance. So we want to be super, super clear about, okay, if your goal is, January 1 is coming. And if your goal is to create an extra, $500 a month in income, okay, cool. So what's that over the year? 500 times 12 is what? $6,000. Okay, so how do you go about creating that extra $6,000? Well, I have this to sell. Okay, so $6,000 is the end, and the strategy to get there is to market this product or this many of the products over the next period of time, right? Just to let people know how it is. Well, let yourself know that here it is, the end, the beginning, and this is the steps it takes to getting there. Isn't that funny? Because that's kind of how God looks at us too. When he created us, he had a specific problem, a specific plan, a specific destiny for each and every one of us. Now, our determination in life is supposed to be our parents help us, right? To determine what that is, what he put in us, what gift he gave us for the masses. And then we move toward that our entire lives to becoming that person, starting again with the end in mind. No more it's just about what happens today. I just got to get through today to tomorrow. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't times of turmoil or trauma that we face in our lives where it is absolutely about, okay, let me just get through this day. But the bigger picture has got to be about the end result. If you want to see 2018 be different than 2017, then you need to figure out what you want to be doing at the end of 2018 and create a plan and a strategy. Get involved with some business and do it. Make it happen. You've got enough time. Like, this is the time. Grab a notebook. If the beach is your thing, go sit down by the ocean and turn off your phone for a few hours and just do a brain dump. And then take what you've got and create a plan, because that's the only way that your dreams will come true, right? In the process, as an entrepreneur or a team leader, you want to staff your weaknesses. Look for people who are strong in areas where you are weak. Why? Because now you don't have to take the time to go learn a whole new skill, but you can benefit and be a blessing to someone else as they take a part of that dream and vision. If your end game isn't big enough to include other people, then I have to say to you, that's probably not what God is saying for you right now. Why? Because God uses people. He uses each and every one of us to solve somebody's program or somebody's problem by creating a program, a strategy, or something along those lines. Our journey has to be to figure out what it is and make sure that we're doing that. So I'm just going to keep on moving here. He goes on and he talks about considering when you're going to launch. You know, it takes patience. You're not going to start today and make $1 million tomorrow. Not normally. And even if you do, you probably won't do it again the very next day. It's going to be a process. The problem is we get stuck in the process without having patience to understand that we have to grow into what it is that we want to see at the end mark. We have to grow into it, because otherwise we'd already be there, right? So there's some things that we have to work out in ourselves, some things that have to come together in the natural, and that's how you create those explosions, those quote unquote overnight successes that don't really happen overnight. Okay, and then we go on to, he talks about criticism and how entrepreneurs learn not to take criticism, not to take every critique to heart. Rather, finding a way to integrate the feedback and maintain the integrity of your product or service. A lot of times people will say, no, I don't want to be a part of your business. I don't want anything to do with your product. It didn't work for me. Well, okay, that's you. That's one person. Problem is we take it personally, and it's like they're saying that we didn't work for them, that we are horrible people. And that's not it at all. So I in my network marketing training, I always talk about, you know, getting rid of the baby butt skin and putting on some rhino skin. Right? It's time out for being overly sensitive and wearing our hearts on our sleeves. Think about a rhino, right? A rhino can have birds plucking on them, animals laying on their back, and they just keep it moving. It doesn't even matter. But a baby, if you so much as barely scratch it, you're going to see a red mark on their little bottoms. So we want to make sure that we don't have baby butt skin. I'm not saying being rude. I'm not saying being crass. I'm saying stop letting everything that people say and do affect you at your core. The Bible says guard your heart, because out of it flow the issues of life. And we have to be protected of the issues of our lives, right? We have to be protective of the things that God has said, love this. This I give you to love. Our families, right? We have to guard those things. All right, so remember, nothing that you do in the process of pursuing your entrepreneurial dream, your business dreams, is going to be work. It's going to be wasted. It might be as simple as you learning how not to do something. Sorry, guys, I thought this was off. It might be as simple as you learning how something doesn't work. But whatever it is, it's going to be a part of that process. So, you know, despise not small beginnings. Back to the Bible again, right? It might be little in the beginning, but over time it will grow and it will develop and it will be huge. So understand that learning while you're leading not only helps you to have it as a heart lesson, you know, you learn it from the inside, but it also helps to determine what type of leader that it is that you choose to be. And he talks about that further. So if you haven't read this part of the book, you definitely want to do so. And understand that it's kind of like at Thanksgiving, right? Whenever we have those big Thanksgivings at family Thanksgivings, there's always an adult table. Actually, we've gotten so big. We have a legacy table, which you have to be 65 or over to sit at. That's like where everybody's parents and grandparents are. Then we have the table for the rest of us. And then there's the kids' table. Now, the whole idea is that there's a logical progression. Those kids are forever trying to get to the adult table. That's what they want to do. They want to get from the kids' table to the adult table, but they're not old enough. But that's all they're after. And that's what happens to us sometimes as entrepreneurs. We get so excited that we want to go straight from the kids' table to the legacy table. Well, it is a logical progression to building business. And that's how you build businesses that last. So don't give up. Just continue to grow up. And take personal responsibility for what happens in your business. It might not even be your fault. but stop pointing at other people and making it their fault. That's part of being a good leader. Because when you give away responsibility for stuff, you're also giving away your power. It's like saying that you are the reason I'm not successful. And guess what? That will never be the case. And that's got to be your attitude. And as you're building your confidence, once you go out there and you kill a few deals of your own, it won't be an issue, but just kind of be aware in the process that even when you feel stalled, even when you feel like your baby is just kind of laying there, not growing as a business, that everything that you're learning and developing, if you're learning and developing and doing, because that takes discipline, right? It takes discipline to work when there's nothing coming out on the other end. It takes discipline to continue to feed and fill that pipeline when you know that nothing else is coming out on the other side right now. You got to know that you're going to reap what you sow. Not always where you sow, but what you sow. So find ways to do good for other people, find ways to be a blessing to other businesses, and guess what? Your business will be blessed as well. He goes, and that's how you create momentum as well, okay? Then he goes on and he talks about the 3 T's of success, the 3 T's of success. He says that even when he's dealing with entrepreneurs, and especially young entrepreneurs who are critical to the fact that, you know, we as the next generation of entrepreneurs, we're used to doing things belly to belly, knocking on doors, handing out flyers, meeting and greeting, kissing babies, hugging, all of that. Well, some of the millennials are more accustomed to not doing all that, but they're accustomed to social media, Instagram, Facebook, and those kinds of things. So they're accustomed to things kind of just happening in large numbers quickly, but it's different. Right? So even when things are not necessarily working, we have to begin to kind of chill out, relax, and give the process time to work. So instead of quitting and trying something different, we have to just relax sometimes, and we have to dig deeper. We have to go hard, go through it. It's about perseverance. Perseverance refines our character. It makes us stronger and wiser leaders, and it reflects our ability to begin with the end in mind. That's what perseverance will do. Perseverance does for each and every one of us. So we want to make sure that we are persevering. That's where we're going to find the power in the process. The power in the process, okay? Persevering and learning to solve problems. The process of growing in experience is, the process of growing in experience, it strengthens your ability to see where you're going and allows you to adjust the course as necessary based on variable conditions to ensure that your destination stays in sight, right? That's the whole thing. We have to realize that this is going to be an this is experiential growing into wisdom that is going to allow us to achieve our destination, to reach our destination. And a lot of the stuff that we encounter, we're only going to encounter through experience. Like, I can tell you what my experience was, and you can learn from it, and you're going to have your own experiences that may be different from mine, and you'll learn from those as well. So entrepreneurship is really about learning. Being a business owner is about growing and developing, because things change. And change should never surprise an entrepreneur. We should never be surprised that things are going to change. We should anticipate them, and then we have to make sure that we can embrace those opportunities from growth, and as soon as we see them, make the necessary adjustments so that we can get where it is that we're going. Think about a spaceship, right? When NASA sends a spaceship up, it's off target most of the time, over like 80-90% of the time. I don't know exactly, but it's always them talking back. They're just talking back and forth. Houston, we've got a problem. Why? Because we're off track. Where do I go now? And they continue all the way till they reach the destination. So your power to reach your destination, it lies in the process. Make sure that you design it with room to grow. You don't get to control what you confront, but you do control what your response is to it in this process. So things are going to happen. You know they're going to happen. That's the way life is. Life happens. So why would it be any different in your business? So you got to develop this mental toughness that's going to help you to go through what you grow through, so ultimately your greatness can show through. I just hate rushing through this material, but it's so good. Let's talk about avoiding turbulence. There are a couple things that we can do in business to make sure that we avoid turbulence. One of them is deal with your tax issues, right? We don't understand enough what taxes do to our business. And in network marketing, a lot of us didn't have backgrounds in taxes or money or finances or anything. But I had a mentor who was very, very wise. And he said to me, always think of Uncle Sam as your business partner. Uncle Sam is your business partner. So he gets a cut of what happens in your business. Now, not to say you should overpay him. You give him exactly what he is entitled to, not a penny more. So make sure you have an amazing tax advisor who understands your business, if it's a home-based business, if it's a network marketing business, so that you can definitely structure your business the way it should be and make sure that you minimize your tax liabilities. It's going to take forethought and preparation to manage these kinds of situations. Taxes is just one area. What about licensing for wherever you live or wherever your business is set up? You need to be concerned about that. Certifications, continuing education, all of these things will help you to avoid turbulence and things that could put you out of business, even if only for a short period of time. It takes more than just a positive attitude. It's about a constructive attitude. It's about knowing people with a positive attitude, I'm going to read this. People with a positive attitude hope for the best, while people with a constructive attitude make the best of what they've got in order to get closer to where it is that they want to be. Listen to that. People with a positive attitude hope for the best, while people with a constructive attitude make the best of what they've got in order to get closer to where they want to be. And that's what we have to do. We have to work with what we have. If our team isn't all that we want it to be, we work with them while we continue to add to them. If our understanding isn't everything that it needs to be, then guess what? We continue to work while we grow in our understanding, while we do that study. And look for people who understand that. It's really about making the best. You know what I'm saying, about seeing the glass as half full rather than half empty. Okay, let's see what else. And then the last chapter. I mean, he talks about, we've heard a lot about grit lately. And before we get to the last chapter, he talks about being able to change dynamically. And sometimes we bring in people and they think that we're bringing them in just to maintain the status quo. And that's not it. We bring in people to our businesses, even to our lives, to better them, to make them better than they were, stronger than they were before. And we have to realize that our ventures, whatever they are, will not soar if we've got timid people, people who are afraid to take a risk, who have no adventurous spirit or anything to work with us. So we have to make sure that people we operate with, like people talk about this comfort zone thing, and I have a real problem with comfort zone. If you've heard me talk before about it, you know I do, because I think the world should be our comfort zone. The Bible says that the earth is in its fullness is ours. It's ours. We have access to it all. We have dominion over it all. So why do we have to have a comfort zone? Let's just get out there and do what we were called, created, purposed to do, and deal with the outcomes, deal with the crisis, deal with the chaos. Because why? We are graced to do that. The things that happen in my life, God has already given me the grace to handle them. The things that happen in your life, that God has already given you the grace to handle them. So you handle your stuff, I'll handle my stuff. We can support each other through it. And guess what? Everybody wins. And that's what we have to understand. If you're going through it, if it's present in your life, it's because God has already equipped you to handle it and to deal with it and to overcome it. So be an overcomer. Last chapter, chapter 9, fail fast and crash last is what he's talking about. Talks about making emergency landings. We know about the miracle on the Hudson where Sully Sullenberger, was able to land that plane on the Hudson and save all of those lives. The key to that story, without going into detail and taking the time, is that when the tragedy came and the chaos hit, he did not throw up his hands and say, oh my God, we're all gonna die. He didn't say, I don't know, this has never happened to me before. What do I do? And all these people are here. And he did not have a pity party. He went into his vast stores of knowledge. He says 42 years he was being trained for that very moment. He went inside of himself, pulled on some courage, pulled on some creativity, and decided rather than allowing that plane to crash and people die, he was going to give them their best shot, and he landed it on the Hudson River. Something that had never happened before. That didn't just happen because he went to flight school yesterday and then today he was ready to go. He said in the article in AARP magazine, he says that for 42 years, I've been making small, regular deposits in this bank of experience, education, and training. And on January 15th, the balance was sufficient so that I could make a very large withdrawal. It's the same way in our relationships. If you're in a relationship with someone and you're both depositing into the bank account, things are wonderful. It works, everything is fine. But as soon as someone has made a greater withdrawal than that money that's in the account, guess what? It creates overdraft. And then overdraft creates a negative balance. And negative balances, unless there's a huge deposit, may get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we feel the same way in that relationship. Like, now we've got chaos. We've got conflict. Why? Because you're withdrawing more from our relational bank account than you've ever deposited. Now we have a problem. We need to have a conversation. We might even need to break relationship. But in any case, we've got to deal with this conflict. And it's the same thing as we're growing and developing in our businesses. There are situations that'll happen, and because we've overcome them, it creates these deposits of confidence into our entrepreneurial bank account, if you will. Then there are the customers that are going to come and scream. They're going to call for a withdrawal from that same bank account. The whole idea is that you've got more customers who love you because you're doing it right, because you're moving, you're making things happen, you're changing, you're adapting, you're growing, than the ones who are coming in and taking these withdrawals. And that's kind of what it is. It's like improv, right? You don't know as an entrepreneur, when you call somebody on the phone, what their conversation is going to be, but you just have to be prepared, because once you've done it once, you can do it over and over again. Okay, he says improvisation in life's crisis is a skill we must all practice and hone long before calamity strikes. It requires preparation, engagement, resourcefulness, and creativity to come up with solutions when your new business or any business faces potential disaster. Sometimes you just have to wing it. Sometimes you have to just trust your instinct and fly by the seat of your pants. But it's okay, because you already have the guidelines written in your structure, in your flight plan, so to speak, your business plan. So you already know what structure you're operating within. All you have to do, though, now is call the shot out of your heart. Out of your gut instinct, okay? They call it gut instinct. I call it Holy Spirit. So it's about cultivating courageous patience. Cultivating courageous patience. And the last thing that I'm really going to talk about here, because we're running out of time. I definitely don't want to go too late. But he talks about discovering your personal pace and your personal rhythm. And I just figured this out. So when things happen in your life, and it's extremely difficult and it's extremely challenging, the big thing for me, and this might be for you as well, let me know, I'm looking at your comments, is that it interrupts your rhythm, right? It interrupts your pace. So if you know that this is how your life is flowing, and then something happens, a loved one gets ill, and you have to take care of their kids because they're in the hospital or they have to have surgery, and you have to make these adjustments, and your whole world is like this because you had a pace. You had a rhythm, and you were headed in the direction of your goal, and then everything shifted, and now you have to do it differently. And that's what creates that stress. You aren't prepared to carry that. But what we have to do is, in business and in our lives, realize that the pace does get interrupted from time to time. That's why we say there's seasons. There are things that there's a flow that happens during each season of our lives, season of the year, just like in the natural. So what we have to do quickly is to reestablish a pace or a rhythm. So don't waste time with the, oh, woe is me, and oh my God, what am I going to do? This is horrible. No, stop, breathe, and say, okay, this is what I have to answer, right? This is the end that I'm going to. This is where I am. How do I make it all line up so that I can get back on pace and back in rhythm? And that's really what it's about, even in business, getting on pace, staying in rhythm so that you can have that greatness and the explosion and be the blessing to people, not just by your business, but because of who you are and who you're becoming in this process. Okay, we can do it. You can do it. You're not going to be able to be everything to everybody, so don't even try. Stay real close. Ask Holy Spirit, is this my issue? Do I deal with this? Or is this for somebody else? Our generation, we are so independent, so self-sufficient. We are reluctant to ask for help. We won't admit that we need help. We won't accept assistance. We want to give it, be the givers, those who pour. But when you're empty, who's pouring? I love what Jennifer said on her page. She said, first thing in the morning, she has to get full. So she has something to pour out of, right? And we have to remember that. Stay close to your relationship with God, to Holy Spirit. Continue to read personal development and motivational materials so that you can stay full and that you have something to give to others out of. Okay? All right. Leading by instinct. Now he talks about another book that he has. It's called Instinct, that I'm going to get. And you guys, if you're interested in reading it together, we can. But I'm definitely going to get it, because Instinct talks about a style of leadership. It talks about how we can harness our instinct to improve our actual lives. So we want to get that and read about it. I'm not going to talk about it too much. But just understand that your confidence is going to continue to grow. One day something is going to happen and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm good at this. I actually have success at that. And then there's going to be something that happens that kind of makes you doubt who you are and who you've become in the process. But just know it's just a season. It came to pass. It's totally temporary. So in the process of building, there will be failures. If you're going to fail, fail fast and fail. Just do it. It's a part of the process. You don't like the word fail, find another word, but fail forward. Fail in the direction of your goals and dreams. Because if you want to succeed extravagantly, you're going to have to fail boldly at the same time. So that's part 3 of this incredible book. The last thing that he says that really stuck out to me, he said, the person that seems to be whizzing by you as you struggle to keep flying in your business has experienced as much turbulence as you have. And that could possibly be the person who has the key or the missing link or the missing number to the combination lock that opens you up for the next level of success in your business. So I'm super excited to have been able to share with you the part 3 of Soar this afternoon. Hopefully you got some things in it that you can use from this study. And I definitely look forward to sharing again with you next week, same place, same time. God bless you.